Donald Trump gave an interview and he was asked about the possibility of him being indicted. And he talked about how, hey, if I am, I could run again. But then the part that I really want to take issue with is he also used what I think was an obvious threat of the fact that the wording he used was there will be big problems in America if he is indicted. And of course, what he's indicating and what we've seen many of these right-wing figures lately allude to is the fact that right-wingers are going to cause violence, are going to riot if Trump is indicted. And so the interesting thing, and I think I've discussed this before when we were talking about Lindsey Graham saying a similar thing, is what they're saying is true. So why is there a problem with it? Well, when a third-person spectator does some analysis and says, listen, I think if Trump's indicted, there's going to be forms of violence that take place. There's going to be riots. That's understanding the reality in America and diagnosing it and then giving your perspective. But whenever you are one of the leaders of the movement that would be causing that violence, you have a different level of responsibility whenever making those predictions, right? Because whenever you are the one who has the power to call on or off those people, then you got to wrap up that statement with 10 levels of caveats directed at your followers that, listen, if I am indicted though, I want you to know you should not be violent. You should not do anything outside of the law. But of course, he's not going to do that because he likes the idea that he has the power to threaten this if he's held accountable. And so he gets to say, if you hold me accountable, if you indict me, there's going to be violence. So watch out, as you'll see here.
You know the old saying, a prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich if they want to. I'm just asking, if there is such a prosecutor and they indict you, would that deter you from running for president again?
I don't think the people of the United States would stand for it. And as you know, if a thing like that happened, I would have no prohibition against running. You know that. You've already.
I do. And that's what I want people to understand. That would not take you out of the arena.
It would not. But I think if it happened, I think you'd have problems in this country, the likes of which perhaps we've never seen before. I don't think the people of the United States would stand for it.
What kind of problems, Mr. President?
I think they'd have big problems. Big problems. I just don't think they'd stand for it. They will not sit still and stand for this ultimate of hoaxes.
You know the old...
So, again, what he's saying at the core of it is true. We are going to have some problems to deal with if Trump's indicted based on the response of his followers. Likely. I hope that's not true. But also, I don't have to do a big public announcement begging people not to do that because they don't listen to me. Trump is the person they would be doing the violence on behalf of. So he has a responsibility within any discussion about what might happen in regard to his audience. If he is indicted, he does have a responsibility to make it clear to them that that is not how they should act. And then to talk about the thing he said at the beginning of his statement, it is true that there's no prohibition, as he said, or no law against, nothing in the Constitution, him running if he was indicted. So you could set up a situation where he's either in the midst of that, or even if he was in jail, in prison, he could still run for president. Now, for the 2024 election, there's no chance that everything could go down, trial, all that type of stuff, and him actually be in prison. But even just him being someone who is indicted would still be something, or a situation in which he could run for president, which is a weird situation. It makes sense, because you don't have to outline every reason why someone shouldn't run for office. The idea is the people would understand that someone's not fit if they were indicted with something, but that's not the country that we live in, unfortunately. So, I am really worried about this. I really hope that, somehow when this does go down, because I do think Trump is going to end up being indicted, that this won't be a massive uprising from the right. I mean, we saw what they did on January 6th, and that was, based on such immaterial things that they believed in. At least in this case, they would have an image of Trump actually being criminally charged with something, and they would have a little bit more of on-earth reason to be upset, even though they shouldn't be, because he is just being held accountable for wrongdoing that he actually did. And of course, they don't believe that. But hopefully we don't see big problems, as he said, but I'm afraid that we will.